Welcome back to the TSL number 3, sponsored by PokerStrategy.com. And sorry for that succinct introduction, but when Chill wants to see StarCraft, he wants to see StarCraft. And here we are, game number 2. oGs.NaDa responding with good luck, have fun on oGs.NaDa Caverns in the top right, playing the red Terran. His opponent up 1-0 in the bottom left, Empire.Kas. And again, I want to go ahead and remind you guys that you should sign up for the raffle for a chance to win a trip to Korea via PokerStrategy.com. The URL, once again, teamliquid.net/raffle. And because we had some problems last time, I'm going to spell it for you, RAFFLE.
Yeah, guys, definitely go check that out. I mean, it's basically the best way you can help support Team Liquid right now and also help support our sponsor. Anyone who sponsors esports is a total baller in my book. Anyways, the map is going to be oGs.NaDa Caverns, which to a newer trained eye, or a newer not trained eye, I guess, looks like a very small map. Looks like the rush distances aren't going to be that long, but don't let it fool you. Both players super comfortable on this map. It is definitely not a Steps of War map, and a lot of times there will be long macro games on this map, with the map getting cut in half, kind of basically where the oGs.NaDa Cavern, or oGs.NaDa Towers are rather. And there is also that high yield expansion, which plays a huge role on this map in basically every matchup, especially once planetary fortresses start getting set up. So I wouldn't be surprised here to see a rush from either player, but I love seeing games on maps that they've played on. This map is basically in every tournament out there, and a lot of people on my channel have been complaining about the map because there's so many games, but I think that means better games because they have tons of practice on it.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see which openings both players open up here on oGs.NaDa Caverns. Of course, you don't have that free expansion that's just begging to be taken, that, as we saw back in game number 1 on Crevasse. This expansion, very open, vulnerable to quick tank pushes if you take it and try to defend with just 4 racks Marines. So not as viable as what we saw in game number 1. Of course, if we see a situation develop similar to what we saw in game number 1, where one player goes tech and fails and the other person gets map control, that's going to favor the player who got map control very, very much more than in Crevasse, because getting this gold base as your third base means, you know, more minerals as you drop the mules on them. That means more barracks, that means more Marines, more map control, and you get your siege tanks to isolate these 2 oGs.NaDa towers, and it's very, very difficult for a Terran to struggle with that position all game.
Yeah, and having control over the watchtowers is important on every map, but especially on oGs.NaDa Caverns. If you drop siege tanks on the high ground, there is a little cliff kind of thing right there where you can drop units, and that comes into play a lot of times in non-mirror matchups with Terran players, and we'll see if it indeed comes into play this game, although we have very different builds here from each player as the game progresses forward. NaDa going to be grabbing his natural right now, or at least he has his command center constructing inside of his base, and look at this, Empire.Kas has a Reaper on the way, which isn't too uncommon. It seems to be getting more and more common as StarCraft 2 progresses, because this does allow you to scout. You can almost always get inside your opponent's base and see what's going on, and we'll see if he's able to delay any of the constructing buildings or anything like that, but completely different builds here, although Kas going to be going for his expansion as well.
Yeah, it looks like Kas is going to use that Reaper just to get some scouting. It also gives him complete map control against Marines. He can just dance that back and forth. Going to sit on the high ground. No, he's going to jump down, take out one Marine. Not as targeting it. Oh, he jumps up at the perfect time. Oh my god. What a baller. 2 HP, 2 kills. The Marine, 1 kill, 3 HP. That's pretty sick. And now the Reaper going to jump over here onto the eastern side of the map, going to go towards the oGs.NaDa tower. Meanwhile, Kas has lifted that barracks, put on a reactor onto it, and building another barracks onto that tech lab. So Kas's command center is going to finish second, but he's going to have the benefit of having it right at the location he needs it. Going to be able to Maynard over those SCVs very quickly.
Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable position for NaDa to be in right now, because not only did he just lose 3 Marines without killing a single unit because of the micro there from Kas, but that is going to give Kas both watchtowers in the center of the map, virtually impossible to sneak any kind of ground army past those towers. You can see the SCV trying to skirt death by hiding away from that tower, although I'm sure that Empire.Kas saw it. If not, he will have Marines in position to deal with it. NaDa forced to use a scan. He is seeing exactly what's going on, does see the factory on the way, and I don't know if he's seen the expansion quite yet. No, he hasn't, but he'll probably assume that one is there. Doesn't see it for sure, though. I'm sure that he knows, especially since he scanned and didn't see too much going on in Empire.Kas' base right now. But again, both watchtowers already in Kas's favor, and I think it's important that map control should be considered a resource in StarCraft 2, and if so, then Kas is definitely ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Map control, very important, as you mentioned, especially on this map with the oGs.NaDa Taverns. Reaper going to snipe off that SCV yet again, so Reaper paying for himself a couple times over. A few Marines for NaDa going to push forward. And, oh my god, Kas's reaction time is so fast. I actually noticed this in game number 1, but didn't have the opportunity to mention it. Kas had a Marine forward to watch for any sieging tanks, NaDa move forward and siege, and Kaz immediately I was watching his vision. He went up, grabbed that Marine, and pulled it back before the tank was able to fire. So very quick reaction time out of this guy. Definitely something to watch as we move forward into the mid game. Kaz putting up the backdoor supply depot to watch for any sort of sneaky shenanigans coming through there. He's also going to put up a bunker just so he can be safe. Of course, he can return that later and get a refund. Getting a starport out and actually going to be making a Banshee here.
You know, Chill, I want to mention that you called the Xel'Naga Tower a Xel'Naga Tavern, and I think from now on they should be known as Xel'Naga Taverns, because really you just hang out there drunk anyways and not do a whole lot with your life. But anyways, I'm just looking at the units counting station here, and it is fairly identical, I mean, worker and even unit count on the field. I mean, it's 16 Marines to 18, and then that one Reaper on the field. So both players having very similar unit combinations as this game progresses forward. You mentioned the starports are on the way for both players. A Banshee on the way now for Empire.Kas, does not have cloaking on the way. I don't know if it would be very effective considering there's so many Marines on the ground. One scan would take it out very easily. Now NaDa is going to be moving out into the center of the map, trying to maybe poke in here, see what he can have happen. Again, you don't have to worry about force fields or anything like this, so it's very easy to do this as a Terran player, instantly pulverizing one Marine there, but he will be able to safely back out.
Yeah, and I like this Banshee. If he used it in his army, it would be almost useless, but Kaz is not going to do that. He's going to fly it into the natural, it looks like, and harass some SCVs, and even without cloak, it's going to be very annoying for NaDa to deal with. There's a lot of dead space here above the natural and a lot of dead space in the top right by the main base. We can just scoop back and forth there, pick off SCVs. Here he goes with the Banshee. Let's see how much work he can get done. Banshee flying in, going to take out one SCV immediately. Let's see how quickly NaDa reacts. Reacting fairly quickly, pulling his SCVs, bringing in the Marines. Kaz going to scoot away a little bit. Turret going up very quickly for NaDa. Stim force by NaDa. Not able to take the Banshee out. So we'll have to get some medevacs out to heal those up, and those are on the way. Looks like the Banshee is just going to hang out here until everyone forgets it, and then fly in and start going to work.
That is a nice little area of dead space that the Banshee can hang out for a little while. And again, the unit counting station, the worker count now going to favor Kaz because their expansion timing is similar. But the difference is that Kaz does have a Banshee, but not for long. No, it is still alive. Decides to try and snipe that mule. Looks like he is able to get it. Not sure if it timed out or if he actually sniped it. But 5 kills so far on this Banshee, which is going to allow Kaz to move out. He's already killed his high-yield expansion rocks. May expand there way before his opponent if he decides to, just setting up that planetary fortress. And then you put your own siege tanks there and can be very difficult for NaDa to break that down. So the Banshee trying to get away. There is one Marine who is out for blood, shoots it once, and does get it. So that Marine, a total baller, just kind of hanging out there, able to kill that Banshee. And again, though, the SCV counts are going to be fairly similar, just 5 differences because, well, he killed 5, essentially.
Yeah, that was a nice little game of cat and mouse to watch there between the Marine and the Banshee. We see Kaz completing his command center, going to fly over to the gold, and as he had map control, he gets position first, so he's going to be able to set up with the siege tanks, and it's going to be on NaDa to decide, well, do I want to play this game of turtling up and kind of sit in the main or in the middle of the map and take my own gold base, or do I concede that, wait for it to dry up and take my own third base, or do I try to break it with siege tanks? As you know, tanks can fire farther than they can see if you're very well, or if you have high skill at doing those tank pushes. You can break a Terran who's already set up with proper scans and proper spotting. So it's going to be on NaDa to drive the pace of the action here as we go into the early late game. Kaz has his expansion up, so he's got the income advantage. There's no driving issues that he needs to get out into the middle of the map to solve.
Yeah, I like this from Empire.Kas as well. He did an orbital command there, is dropping all the mules at that high yield expansion because it's probably the most difficult expansion to defend. So he wants them to get in and get out as quickly as possible. Even a 5th mule getting summoned there. And NaDa, this is going to force him to move out here. He does have an upgraded advantage. His +1 attack is done. +2 attack nearly completed. And the +1 attack a long ways off for Empire.Kas. So there is an upgrade advantage for NaDa. But if we do take a look at the units tab, only 2 siege tanks for NaDa, which that is a huge deal in TBT, especially at this stage in the game. I mean, there is more than double siege tanks for Empire.Kas, which will allow him to secure his high yield expansion super easily. And so again, this is going to be NaDa's game. I feel like in both games so far, Kas has been setting the tempo, so it's up to NaDa to decide what to do here while Kaz just kind of sit back and enjoys the ride. For now, though, it looks like they may be swapping sides or kind of a yin and yang through the center of the map.
Yeah, this is crazy. Kaz giving up his gold expansion, running all his SCVs. Looks like his orbital is going to go down, and Kaz is just going to push right into the main base, NaDa recalling all his Marines back into his main base. Kaz has to get up the ramp, or he needs to siege at this location and get position. He cannot let NaDa flank him and just run up. Kaz not sieging. Oh my god, he's not sieging. NaDa is home, gonna stim and run forward. Now here comes the siege, very late stim from Kaz. He's also going to work, and looks like NaDa is gonna push forward. A lot of the Marines for Kaz are down. NaDa is not sieging, pressing forward. This is crazy action. Looks like they're completely going to trade their armies here. And who's gonna come out on top? This is nuts. Looks like they may trade exactly. NaDa will win with one siege tank. So NaDa wins the battle with the siege tank, but he also sacrifices natural, whereas Kaz sacrifices third base. So if you look at the supply counts, also Kaz saved all his SCVs, NaDa saved the majority of them, but the supply showing 121 for Empire.Kas, 76 for oGs.NaDa.
Yeah, it's very important. I think a lot of people are going to look at that and be like, oh, Kaz sieged too late and the positioning was bad and all that. Even if that is true, he is still way ahead in the supply. So overall in this game, he is playing very, very well. I mean, it's 128 to 79 at 15 minutes into the game. That is huge. I mean, NaDa is long distance mining. He still has some minerals at his main base, but this is just not a good situation to be in. He has a lot of SCVs just sitting in his natural as well. And I don't think he realized this, but he took an SCV off that command center. There we go, finally getting one back on there. And again, Empire.Kas is going to be expanding to the left side. There is a Marine guy to delay that. A battle in the center of the map, and it looks like both players are just tired of this game. They want to end it right now. And Empire.Kas taking it out is going to be killing all the medics as well. And it looks like NaDa is going to GG out of the second game. Empire.Kas is absolutely on fire so far in this series. I am extremely surprised by how well he is playing against someone as legendary and as powerful as NaDa. Maybe it's NaDa's, kind of picking up his studies and not able to focus so heavily on StarCraft 2, but Empire.Kas, obviously the superior player so far. Even with similar builds and stuff like that, he's just getting out-microed by Kaz. So Kaz, yeah, he is on fire right now. NaDa has to win the next 3 games in order to take this series.
Yeah, Kaz is insane, man. His early game build orders just look a little bit cleaner, and then it's not like he's starting off with, oh, he had a big advantage and then NaDa outplayed him, but he couldn't get that disadvantage to level off. It's not like that at all. Kaz is outplaying him from the start of the game until the end of the game, and NaDa is just forced to bow and GG. It's very, very shocking to watch for me at least, but Kaz is making a name for himself, at least in my eyes, and I think for the majority of the viewers, Kaz looks very, very solid, more so than NaDa thus far in the series. One thing I want to revisit, which you pointed out, which was the late siege at the natural expansion, and I've been thinking about it a little more, and I agree with you that was the proper move to make, because if he just sieges and hangs up, NaDa still hangs out. He's got the giant army, or NaDa has the giant army in the middle of the map, cutting all reinforcements from Kaz, and he's still making units in his main base, so Kaz can't advance anywhere. NaDa's just going to make more and more units and then eventually flank and sandwich and get the better of the battle. But if he stays mobile and NaDa doesn't come, he can just push up the ramp, siege, and the game is over. So I really like how Kaz played that out, and I think you identified that properly, that was not a late siege. That was played right.
Yeah, and really, when I was watching it happen, he had all the siege tanks in front of his Marines, and the Marines were just kind of trickling through those siege tanks. And somehow, though, he was still able to hold off not only that army, but he killed that expansion as well. And even though it came down to both armies were decimated, the fact of the matter is that Empire.Kas had already dropped at least 5 mules at that high-yield expansion. They had run their course and mined a bajillion minerals there. So even though he lost that, it still paid for itself while he took out the expansion of his opponent. So he played really, really well that game. I think a lot of players, when they were watching, are probably like, what is he doing? But it really paid off there, and it's just showing that his game sense is phenomenal. I mean, he's going against NaDa, man. NaDa has played, I don't know how many tens of thousands, if not more, StarCraft games, StarCraft 1 and 2, and to be able to just stay ahead, you mentioned the really clean build orders. It's just he's set the tempo in the last 2 games very heavily, and at a very early stage of the game as well. So definitely look out for this guy. I think that he needs a few more fans than he probably has right now.
Yeah, I recently saw a thread where when you spend 10,000 hours on something, you become an expert, but there was a little footnote in there that once you spend 20,000, you become NaDa. So definitely above an expert in StarCraft and now StarCraft 2, and that speaks to how strong Kaz is in this game. Moving on to game number 3, we're going to be looking at a map we haven't seen yet today, but one of my favorites. It's going to be Shakur's Plateau, and as we look at the analysis of this game, game number 3 is NaDa's up against the ropes. We need to remember that this map has been modified by the TSL. It was originally modified by Blizzard to eliminate vertical positions. TSL has further modified it to eliminate horizontal positions because of that backdoor pushing lane, and that means the only possibility here is cross positions, either a slash or a backslash, if you will. So that's really going to drive the game towards being a longer game, and it's going to drive the game towards more of a dynamic play between who's going to control the center of the map and who's going to push through the back doors.
Yeah, and just looking at the upcoming maps, should it go to games 4 and 5, is going to be Tal'Darim Altar, another macro style map, and then the old school Metalopolis. I do love watching Terran versus Terran on that map, but I mean, I don't know if we're going to even make it that far, because there's really been a very few points in these games, keeping in mind he's going against NaDa, very few points in these games where it's like, man, Empire.Kas is totally screwed. There's no way he can win this game. And that's huge when you're doing a best of 5. You're already up 2-0, and in both of those games, I mean, of course you feel good after winning, but he won in such a decisive way, and he just set the tempo from the beginning. I don't know if he was feeling it, but watching those games, it's just like, wow, this is how you should play Terran versus Terran in those games. So this very well could be the last game, which I'm super sad about. I do hope it goes on to games 4 and 5, just because I love StarCraft 2. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm freaking out that the Koreans are having such a tough time. We'll see if it continues here in game 3.
Yeah, extremely interesting. So we're going to see if Husky is going to start crying here on stream, or if he will be happy, and we'll get to see a game number 4. Again, don't forget about next week, when we're going to have Day 9 and DJ Wheat commentating on Saturday. And Sunday, we're going to have Day 9 commentating with Husky, and that's going to be an exciting pair. But right now, we need to see if Kaz can become a hero and not even blink an eye at NaDa and finish him 3-0, or if NaDa can dig in and reset the sweep here on game number 3 right after this.